please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend William P. Saunders, Our Lady of Hope Catholic Church, Potomac Falls, Virginia. The senators will remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Senate Page Kiara Alexandra Pejovich.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we implore you to pour forth your Holy Spirit upon these our senators, as you did upon the elders of Israel at the time of Moses. Fill them with the gifts of reverence and piety, knowledge and understanding, counsel, wisdom, and fortitude. Remembering that all authority comes from you, Heavenly Father, we pray that they will promote the dignity of each person and the common good of all, safeguard the sanctity of marriage and the family, and defend the rights of life and to religious freedom. As they deliberate today, may they be mindful of the words of James Madison, our fellow Virginian and fourth president. We have staked the whole of all our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 Commandments of God. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present will record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Wednesday, January 30th, 2019.
Thank the Senator. The Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Senator.
I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 2.
Ayes 35, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
I do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes the time in the morning hour. We have the privilege and the honor of recognizing our guests here with us in the Senate gallery. I would give my daily reminder that the way this will proceed is that we will have a senator stand up, recognize an individual or group. I will then offer the warm welcome of the Senate, and we'll all wait to the very end and clap together. Senator Stanley knows how that goes. And so I'd like to begin by recognizing the Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have in the gallery today representatives from the United Methodist Church who are here to spread the good work that they're doing for for the betterment of all the citizens here in the Commonwealth, and I would hope that you would give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends from the Virginia United Methodist Church please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for your presence and for your moral leadership here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We echo the kind words of the Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, and you're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Virginia United Methodist Church. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Good morning, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in the gallery today, we have President Scott Miller, who's the president of Virginia Wesleyan University, my undergraduate alma mater. Mr. President, I will tell you that they have done such a good job down there. They actually are the premier National Liberal Arts College in that region, coastal Virginia region, and it has become such a wonderful school they probably wouldn't even let me in anymore. But at any rate, Mr. President, we have Robert Lamberth and Sabina Moretz with the President, and on behalf of the senior senator from Virginia Beach and myself, I would ask you to offer them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank... I blame that on Senator Stanley. So next time we'll wait to the very end, although these folks are deserving of multiple rounds of applause. Would President Scott Miller, Robert Lamberth, and Sabina Moritz please rise in the gallery if you are able. Thank each of you for being here with us today. It's an honor to have you. President Miller, thank you for your leadership of that very fine institution, of which you have some tremendous graduates. I know you're very proud of Senator Stewart and others who have come through that wonderful university. Thank you all for educating our population and making the Commonwealth an even better place for all of us. So I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our three distinguished guests. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, there are folks in the gallery here today with the Drive Smart Coalition for Safe Driving and StopDistractions.org. And just very briefly, Mr. President, you all are going to have an opportunity this year to vote for a hands-free bill that I have patroned, and it's come out of the Courts Committee, and hopefully it's going to be on the floor here soon. And these folks are here today to advocate for that bill. I would ask that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Drive Smart Coalition for Driving Safety in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for your advocacy on such an important issue around safety for all of our families. We love the green vests and know that that means that you're here on Capitol Square advocating for something that's so important. And we echo the eloquent and generous words of the Senator from King George, Senator Stewart. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests. Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we heard the prayer given by the Reverend William P. Saunders. Reverend Saunders is my pastor at Our Lady of Hope Catholic Church, and also he is in charge of a thriving school that's associated with the church. It's all located in Potomac Falls, Virginia. Reverend Saunders is a graduate of William and Mary's. He was a certified public accountant, and he's a very accomplished author of a series of books entitled Straight Answers, which gives individual answers to issues of the faith. I have known and attended services for an incredible number of people of various denominations, and I cannot name one for you who is a more faithful and earnest practitioner of the gospel than Father Reverend William Saunders. And so I would ask that the Senate extend him the warmest welcome of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Would the Reverend William P. Saunders please rise in the gallery? Reverend, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's an honor to have you, and that was a really powerful and beautiful prayer that you gave us this morning and got us off on exactly the right foot. And we're grateful for your moral leadership here in the Commonwealth, and know that the Senator from Loudoun and his generous words reflect the sentiments of so many people here in Virginia about what you've done. So we appreciate you. I think this was your first time giving the prayer, but certainly hopefully will not be your last. And we welcome you, and I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to the Reverend William P. Saunders. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Joining us today in the gallery are a couple of people from the Planning District, Southside Planning District, Gail Moody, Executive Director, and Jim Baldwin. I ask you to give them a warm welcome.
I thank the Senator. Would Jim Baldwin and Gail Moody please rise in the gallery if you're able? Jim and Gail, thank you so much for being here with us today. And the Senate also, thank you for your leadership on the Southside Planning Commission. We are grateful to all that you do to make Southside and the Commonwealth of Virginia an even better place to do business, to raise a family, and for all of us. So we echo the generous words of Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff, who I know is very proud of both of you. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for the purposes of two introductions.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, first, a young lady who's interned with my office, Caitlin Jordan. She is a senior at Randolph-Macon and has made a decision some might think is tremendous, some might think is poor, to attend law school, and was just accepted this week during the courts committee meeting while it was ongoing. Is somewhat appropriate, but she has been just probably the best assistant we've ever had in my 18 years, and I wanted you to offer her the warm welcome of the Senate and good luck in her future endeavors.
Thank the Senator. Would Caitlin Jordan please rise in the gallery if you are able? Caitlin, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your great work for Senator McDougal and on behalf of all Virginians, and congratulations to you on being accepted to law school. We know that you will do wonderful things in the law and in leadership. We look forward to you one day leading us here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We echo the generous and eloquent words of the Senator from Hanover, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Caitlin Jordan. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this introduction is a little more difficult, Mr. President. Mr. President, many of you might know that we had a very horrific accident in Hanover County on Interstate 295 late last year, and in that we had two officers from our fire department that were severely injured and will have injuries that they will deal with for their lives. And Mr. President, we also had one officer who lost his life. And Mr. President, it's in a small community like Hanover, all these things are very personal. And Lieutenant Brad Clark was actually a student of my mother when she taught some 30-some years ago. But Mr. President, we are very fortunate, and I really want you to offer the warm welcome of the Senate, because we're going to take up a resolution for Lieutenant Brad Clark later on today to a number of members from the Hanover Fire Department. We have Lieutenant Kevin Morris, Lieutenant Justin Nichols, and firefighter Jacob Smith with us in the gallery. But Mr. President, we also have Lieutenant Clark's widow, Melanie Clark. And I know that this has been extremely difficult for her. It's been difficult for the community to go through this. But even in these times of difficulty, she and our entire family in not only the fire department, but EMS and law enforcement have really banded together, and ultimately our community will be stronger and continue to be thankful for his service. So, Mr. President, if you could offer them our condolences, our thanks, and warm welcome to the Senate to share their story and express how important our first responders truly are to each and every one of us.
I thank the Senator. Would Melanie Clark and our leaders from the Hanover Fire and EMS please rise in the gallery if you are able? Melanie, thank you so much for joining us here today and for your grace and for all that you're doing to improve the lives of so many people, not only in Hanover, but throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are grateful that you have courageously turned your pain into purpose and made us all better as a result. And I know that Lieutenant Brad Clark, as the Senator said, is smiling and very proud of you and of all that you're doing. And to our leaders in the Hanover Fire and EMS, thank you for your bravery, for all that you do every single day to protect us, to make us better. And we are all so deeply appreciative of each one of you and of your families, because we know that there is one big family together. So we echo the really eloquent and generous words the Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal, offer both our condolences but also our thanks and the absolute warmest embrace and wishes of the Senate of Virginia to each one of you. And I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our wonderful and distinguished guests. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteph.
Mr. President, I rise for two introductions.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, today in the gallery is a constituent from our area representing her United Methodist Church, Bessie Arnodin. She's visiting the Capitol today for the first time in a long time, and her representatives have been here today discussing Methodist concerns related to the issues being addressed in the Senate. Mr. President, please give Betsy Arnodin a warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would Betsy Arnodin please rise in the gallery if you are able? Hey, Betsy. Thank you, Betsy, so much for joining us here today. We see you right there. Diane's taking great care of you. And thank you for being here in the Senate with us and for your advocacy and for your leadership. And we echo the generous and eloquent, kind words of the junior senator from Virginia Beach. And I would ask everybody, please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friend Betsy Arnodin. Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteph.
And Mr. President, for my second introduction, today we're joined by members of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation who are here to advocate for clean water initiatives. These advocates are clean water captains, Bay ambassadors who are here today to ask for their legislators to continue efforts to restore the Bay to its iconic fisheries. Clean water fuels the Virginia Beach economy from tourism to oyster architecture, aquaculture. We recognize the value of the Chesapeake Bay. Mr. President, please give these guests your warmest welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being with us here today. We are grateful for both your presence and your leadership on such an important issue, restoring our Bay. And as the Senator said, it's so important to all aspects of life here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, to our economy, to tourism, to our environment, and leaving a better planet to our children than what we found. And so thank you all for taking the lead on something that really is important to all of us. And I would ask everybody, please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you. Joining us in the gallery, we have representatives from Virginians for the Arts who are participating in their Arts Advocacy Day with over 100 arts advocates from across the Commonwealth visiting with their legislators. And I'd just say that they are reminding us that arts is more than just entertainment and culture. It is also economic development, it is tourism, it is business, it is therapy, and it is education. And so I ask that you give them a warm welcome.
Thank the Senator. Would our friends from Virginia for the Arts in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here with us today. Thank you for the important work you do in promoting the arts here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. As the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan, so eloquently stated, the arts are critical across so many different areas: education, economic development, tourism, therapy, all the things that make life better for all of us here in Virginia. So thank you for being leaders. Thank you for your thoughtful engagement in our civic process. And I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests from Virginia for the Arts. Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are joined in the gallery today by members of the Virginia Apartment and Management Association. VAMA is the state chapter of the National Apartment Association and the premier trade association for owners and managers of multifamily residential real estate and the companies serving the rental housing industry. VAMA represents housing providers who own and manage a collective portfolio of roughly 220,000 housing units throughout the Commonwealth. Nearly 1 million Virginians make their homes in apartments, and the industry generates an annual economic impact of $22.4 billion and 223,100 jobs in Virginia alone. This summer, VAMA engaged as part of the Virginia Housing Commission's evictions work group, and they are meeting with legislators during their time here at the Capitol to advocate for a package of proactive bills aimed at reducing evictions. Mr. President, if you would give a warm welcome to the Senate to the Virginia Apartment and Management Association.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Virginia Apartment Management Association in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today in the Senate. We are honored by your presence, and also very grateful for the work that you're doing on behalf of all Virginians, and particularly around the issue of evictions, which is a critical one. And thank you for your leadership and your thoughtful engagement. And you're going to make the Commonwealth a better place for a lot of people by what you've done. And we've heard about the impact that you have on our economy, on the lives of families who depend on your work and the availability of affordable housing. And so thank you for making that dream a reality for so many people throughout every part of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I would echo the eloquent and generous words of Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke, and would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Virginia Apartment Management Association. The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, joining us in the Senate gallery this afternoon are members of the Virginia Retired Teachers Association. They are here touring the Capitol and meeting with legislators and advocating on the issues that are important to their organization. The Virginia Retired Teachers Association is made up of about 6,500 retired teachers and other school personnel, and in their history they've raised about $500,000 in scholarships for high school students, as well as nearly 250,000 hours working with 200,000 Virginia youth. They're doing a great job. We're very proud to have them here today, and I'd ask we offer them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Virginia Retired Teachers Association in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you for all that you do on behalf of so many of our families and our young people and raising the next generation and giving them education, the foundation of opportunity. And so I know that teachers really never retire because you're always focused on helping people and making life better for others. So we're deeply grateful for your commitment, for your careers, for your character, for all that you do for all of us. And so I would ask everybody to please join me in echoing the eloquent words of the Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturtevant, in granting the warm welcome of the Senate to the Virginia Retired Teachers Association. The Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, unusual green form. It says that we're visited by a school, and that school is James Madison University. I somehow doubt that they're all in the gallery, but I suspect that some representatives of James Madison University are here. I live right outside of Harrisonburg. I served on the Board of Visitors of James Madison University for 8 years in the 1990s. I paid tuition for 3.5 years for one of my children, which offset the 7 years of undergraduate tuition I paid for one of my other children. But James Madison University is a wonderful institution. We love them, and they are one of the flagships of our system of higher education. And to the extent that James Madison University itself is here, I would ask you to extend the warm welcome of the Senate to it.
I thank the Senator. Would James Madison, the actual university, please rise in the gallery if you're able? Well, thank you on TV. Thank you all so much for your leadership. We echo the eloquent, generous words of the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain. James Madison University is a phenomenal institution with a great history and an even brighter future, and we look forward to the Dukes doing some amazing things going forward. So I'd ask everyone to please join me in sending the warmest welcome of the Senate to James Madison University. The Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Emerge Virginia is a highly competitive campaign training program for women, helping prepare them to run for office over a 7-month period. Emerge Virginia is led by the Executive Director, Julie Copeland, who is here, and joined by the class of 2019. They're sitting in the gallery. I will tell you that I'm a 2014 graduate of Emerge Virginia, and I can attest that it is a very high-quality program. I look forward to seeing what these women have in store, and I ask that you give them a very warm Senate welcome.
Thank the Senator. Would our friends from Emerge Virginia please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today in the Senate. It's an honor to have each one of you. And Julie, thank you for your tremendous leadership of this great organization. You have incredible people who have stepped up to engage in our civic process and also to make sure we have more women in office and represented and leading as you always have done. And so we are grateful to each one of you for what you do to make this Commonwealth a better place. I had the privilege and pleasure of visiting with you along with First Lady Pam Northam earlier this morning, who sends her warmest regards as well. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from Emerge Virginia. The Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, we're honored to have with us today the Korean Senior Citizens Association from Northern Virginia. They've come down here to see democracy in action. And I would ask that you extend the very, very warm welcome of the Senate to them. They have been just an enormous asset for our community in Northern Virginia. I mean, from A to Z. I mean, they just really have been stellar.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Korean Senior Citizens Association please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. It is a deep honor and privilege to have you with us in the Senate of Virginia. And as the senior senator from Fairfax so generously and eloquently stated, you're such a wonderful part of our Commonwealth and of our communities. You make us all better, and you add so much richness to the fabric of our society. And so we are grateful to you. We know that your families are deeply proud of you, as we all are. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Korean Senior Association. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Seeing none, that will conclude the morning hour. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I learned early in my life that man lives by cookie alone.
So, when that happens, your life can crumble. So
Yes,
you got to be
sir.
very careful.
Mr. President, I'm going to respectfully ask, and I would like for everyone to pay attention because it's going to impact those of you that are having the conversation right now. Mr. President, I'm respectfully going to ask that we stand in recess until 1:30. And Mr. President, at 1 o'clock, the Commerce and Labor Committee will resume their calendar and so that they can complete that. We're pressing up on some deadlines. So at 1 o'clock, if everyone who is a member of Commerce and Labor will kindly return to Senate Room 3, we'll complete that docket. So with that, immediately upon recess, if the Republicans would be so kind to return to our prayer meeting room, that would be very nice.
Madam Clerk, before we, Senator from Hampton, Senator Lott.
Upon recess, if the Senate Democrats would meet in the conference room in the back.
Thank the Senator. Madam Clerk.
Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet at 1 o'clock p.m. in Senate Room 3 in the Capitol.
Senate will stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we return to the morning hour?
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for a brief introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, today we have a memorial resolution which is going to pass later in the session. And in the gallery, we have the family of Joe Rowe, or he was actually Josiah Pollard Rowe, but I think most people in the community called him Joe Rowe. I called him Mr. Rowe. In the gallery, we have Jeanette and Nick Cadwalader, Florence and Richard Barnick, Sally and Ray Roberts, and two of his grandsons, Les Cadwalader and George Barnick. Mr. President, Joe Rowe, I don't think he started it. I think his father started it, but he was very instrumental in building the Freelance Star in Fredericksburg. And it was one of those newspapers that, you know, we all we look forward to the day when you got the newspaper, a community paper that made you feel good when you read it. It was part of the community. And he took that newspaper from a subscribership of about 6,000 to, I believe, 50,000 over his term. He built it really into a business. He included WFLS, WYSK, WWUZ, Print Innovators, and Fredericksburg.com, which I guess is what everybody looks at now, although I still get the actual paper. He really was a man that helped shape the Fredericksburg region in so many ways, and he did more for that community than I think most people in that region will ever know, through his contributions to the community, both through his time and his financial resources. And it's a pretty long resolution because he did so much in his life and he did so much for the people. But I just want to read one part of it, if I may. I also want to mention Time Magazine named it as one of the best papers in the country, which tells you how fortunate we were. Whereas the mayor of Fredericksburg from 1964 to 1972, Mr. Rowe helped lead the peaceful integration of schools and the city's workforce in Fredericksburg. He purposefully marched in solidarity with the city residents mourning the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968, and he made the trailblazing move for the city to acquire the land around the Rappahannock River to preserve the natural resource and the city's drinking water source. Through a long family tradition of public service with his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, all having previously held the office of Fredericksburg mayor, Joe Rowe also served on the Fredericksburg School Board in a paradigm-shifting time after Brown v. Board of Education. He was also a courageous man, and particularly in those times. And again, the best way I can express it, he really, really helped shape the region and make it the area that it is today. And I can tell you that his children are doing the same thing through their commitment to public service, and we appreciate that. And so, Mr. President, I just wanted to take that minute to recognize the family of Joe Rowe and everything that he did for our community. We lost him last year, and so I would ask that you offer them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator very much. Would the family of Josiah Pollard Rowe please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you so much to the wonderful Rowe family for being here with us today. It is an honor to have you in the Senate and in the Capitol, and really hard to improve upon the eloquent and generous words of Senator from King George, Senator Stewart, about the legacy that your wonderful father and grandfather has left to Fredericksburg, but also to the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are deeply grateful to your family for all of its commitment to helping us rise to the better angels of our nature, and all that Joe Rowe has done to make this Commonwealth exactly what it should and can be. So thank you, accept our gratitude, our condolences, but also know that you are a part of this family, you're a part of this Commonwealth. We're all deeply proud of what you have done. So I would ask everyone to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to the family of Josiah Pollard Rowe. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for a brief introduction.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, visiting the Senate are two Board of Supervisor members from Washington County, Mr. Eddie Copenhaver and Mr. Mike Rush. Mike was a professor of mine at the community college that I attended, and he marvels sometimes that I'm standing here. And now I marvel that he's elected too. So I would like the body to give a warm welcome to Mike Rush and Eddie Copenhaver.
Thank the Senator. Would Mike Rush and Eddie Copenhaver please rise in the gallery if you are able? Mike and Eddie, thank you all so much for joining us here today in the Senate. It's an honor to have you, and thank you for your leadership in Washington County on the board. We are grateful for your commitment to that wonderful part of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Mike, thank you for delivering Senator Carrico to us, and I know he is very proud of you, and I'm sure you are of him as well. So you're welcome back here anytime, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests from Washington County. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Today we have visiting us Mr. J. Michael Sheridan, who is chairman of the Board of Supervisors for Fluvanna County. He made the trip over here today to see what we were doing. He was here for quite a while, and it didn't look like we were doing anything. So I'm glad that he is seeing us get back in session. I thank you, Mr. President, for speaking to him in the hallway. Mr. Sheridan is a teacher at Fluvanna Middle School. He also coaches, assistant coach with the football team. I asked that we give him the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Would Michael Sheridan please rise in the gallery if you're able? Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us here today from Fluvanna. We are grateful for your presence and for your leadership. Thank you for what you do as a teacher and a coach to bring the next generation along and instill values in them that will carry them to high heights. And I know the Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, so eloquently stated all that you mean to Fluvanna and to the Commonwealth. So we are grateful for you. It was wonderful to speak with you outside. Thank you for your kindness and generosity. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Chairman Michael Sheridan from Fluvanna County. Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Thursday, January 31st, 2019. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that all the Senate bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 1 through 5, including Senate Bill 1462 through Senate Bill 1782, be placed on their final passage in the block. Any senator who desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 5, Senate Bill 1462 through Senate Bill 1782, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1462, Senate Bill 1725, Senate Bill 1307, Senate Bill 1381, Senate Bill 1385, Senate Bill 1638, Senate Bill 1655, Senate Bill 1659, Senate Bill 1757, Senate Bill 1782, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshade.
Mr. President, I suppose I should first just ask that that come out of the block and we return to it after taking up the block.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1782 will be removed from the block.
Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Senate Bill 1725 come out of the block, please.
On page 2, without objection, Senate Bill 1725 will be removed from the block. Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is all bills except for Senate Bill 1725 and 1782. All in favor of passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 2, Senate Bill 1725.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass. And speaking to that.
Thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
If my microphone will work. Mr. President, Senate Bill 1725 is the duck blind bill that we have discussed exhaustively over the last 2 days, and I'm just not going to put you all through it. But I would ask that it pass.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1725 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. Senate Bill 1725 passes.
On page 5, Senate Bill 1782.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we reconsider the vote by which this bill was engrossed and advanced to third constitutional reading.
The question is, shall the vote by which this bill was engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, next, so we can get to the floor substitute, I move that we reconsider the vote by which the committee substitute was agreed to.
Question is, shall the vote by which the committee substitute was agreed to be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, with a recommendation that it be rejected, I would ask that the committee substitute be agreed to.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor substitute.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the floor substitute be agreed to. And speaking briefly to this,
the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, this is a simple little notary bill. The bill was introduced to conform the requirements of notaries to the requirements that are already attached to executors and administrators of a state because of their important role in ensuring the integrity of public transactions, particularly in conjunction with many in our immigrant community who place a special level of trust in notary publics. This bill simply conformed the requirements of a notary public to those of executors because of the required level of trust. Inadvertently, the floor or the committee substitute made it possible for people convicted of an awful lot of crimes who were previously excluded from service as notaries to serve. And it was a partial fix and created a gaping hole. This does what the committee intended to do, brings the bill into conformity with that which reported out unanimously. And with that explanation, I would ask that we adopt the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Eastern Fairfax? Senator Servell rise.
Well, gentleman from Rockingham yield for a question.
Well, Senator Yield. Senator Yield, you have the floor.
hadn't looked at this until I had it stuck in front of me. I don't know if the gentleman remember, but I had a bill last year which said that notaries, you couldn't be a notary if you had a misdemeanor conviction of moral turpitude, which would include embezzlement or larceny. And it looks to me like the way you've drafted this, it would only apply to a felony conviction, but not a misdemeanor larceny or a misdemeanor embezzlement. And the committee rejected my bill last year. I was just curious if it was the gentleman's intent to also leave out misdemeanor felony or misdemeanor larcenies or embezzlements. And I'll just say the reason I put the bill in was because a judge in Fairfax County approached me and had a witness in court who, fraudulently did a notarization, and the person had a criminal record a mile long, but it was all misdemeanors, and so she was allowed to be a notary, and he was terrified about that, which is why I put the bill in. I was curious what the policy idea behind that.
Mr. President, I would say the gentleman from Eastern Fairfax, I agree with the policy articulated. I don't know whether I voted for it or against it last year, but I've apparently displayed a measure of growth over the course of the past year. And I would be delighted to support the effort of the gentleman next year to expand that. What we tried to do was simply not create a barrier to being a notary any greater than the barrier that already exists under Virginia law to serving as an executor or an administrator of an estate. I was not trying to fundamentally change the landscape. I'm certainly open to that suggestion, and this just doesn't go that far, and be more than happy to work with the gentleman next year.
Okay, I thank the gentleman.
Thanks, Senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules and dispense with third constitutional reading.
Question is, shall the rules be suspended and the third constitutional reading be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended, and the third constitutional reading is dispensed with. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, having previously explained it.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1782? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1782 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. Senate Bill 1782 passes.
Regular calendar. Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1169, a bill relating to apprenticeships, ratio of apprentices to journeymen.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, can that bill go by for the day? Thank you.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1169 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1326, a bill to require the State Board of Social Services to amend its regulations regarding bed limits for licensed assisted living facilities.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Mr. President, could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1326 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1263, a bill relating to juveniles' trial as adult for felony larceny offenses.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President and members of the Senate, the bill as introduced was a little bit broader than this. The Commonwealth attorneys asked me to reduce it considerably. What this does is, an attempt to try to change the patterns of some of these people. And keep in mind, it doesn't apply to any violent types of crime or felonies, only felony larceny for juvenile 14 and 15. What it proposes to do is to they would have to stay in juvenile court. Of course, they could be sentenced as juveniles. and go to a juvenile facility. The Commonwealth attorneys, when they testified, said this is essentially what the practice is now, that they don't, generally unless it's a violent crime, they don't move to have the hearing to transfer it to the circuit court. The first statute that dealt with this, I put on the books my first year in the House of Delegates when we had a pretty bad situation near where I lived, and a fellow had gotten out. A 15 or 16-year-old had raped this woman. He was only in jail a couple of months. He did it again. They couldn't. Used to have to find that they were amenable to treatment as juveniles. I struck that language and said that if it was murder, rape, or armed robbery, you could certify them immediately right to the adult to a circuit court. That's not changed. This just deals with felony larceny, which the Commonwealth attorney said is essentially the practice anyway. So I would ask that the Bill 1263 be passed.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1263? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1263 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, no 7.
Ayes 33, no 7. Senate Bill 1263 passes.
Senate Bill 1667, a bill relating to non-payment of child support, amount of arrearage paid, time period to pay arrearage, repayment schedule, suspension of driver's license.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill passes and speak into the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, currently, if an individual enters into a payment plan for child support, the suspension of his or her driver's license is removed. This bill would make payment plans for child support more realistic and accessible by reducing the down payment requirements and increasing the length of term for payment of delinquent child support obligations. We know that not having a driver's license is a barrier to employment and therefore an impediment to receiving the income needed to pay child support. Payment plans of high dollar requirements, as in the current law, are not realistic for lower income individuals and only serve to draw out the cycle of license revocation, fines, and non-payment. This bill can be seen as a part of a larger bipartisan effort to try to make payments of obligations that suspend driver's license more reasonable and thus available to more individuals. Mr. President, I again move that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1667? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1667 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. Senate Bill 1667 passes.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side by which we just passed Senate Bill 1667, I'd ask we reconsider that vote.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1667 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
from James
President.
County, Senator Norman.
I would inquire if the gentlelady from Petersburg would yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. President, my question is, by this bill, would the Department of Child Support Enforcement be required to negotiate installment payments with an individual who is under court order and is in arrears?
Senator has the floor.
This bill, Mr. President, I would say that that might be the case.
Further question?
Mr. President, I apologize. I didn't hear her answer.
Senator has the floor.
I said, Mr. President, based on my knowledge, that might be the case.
Further question?
Mr. President, I would just say I think that would change my perspective on the bill, and I'd respectfully ask that it be passed by for the day so that we could have a conversation with DCSC.
That's acceptable.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1667 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1758, a bill relating to custody and visitation cases, jurisdiction of court.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speaking to the bill.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Senate Bill 1758 just basically makes clear that a juvenile court has the authority to make a factual finding that a child has been abandoned or neglected for purposes of receiving a federal benefit or a state benefit. Happy to get in the bill further if anybody wants to talk about it, but that's the simple version. A lot of us thought courts always had that authority in juvenile court. They do it all the time in all kinds of other cases. I'd move, again, renew my motion for the bill to pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1758? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1758 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 11.
Ayes 28, noes 11. Senate Bill 1758 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd move all the Senate bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 7 through 25, which I would say, looking at tomorrow, is 18 pages. That would include all Senate bills 1090 through Senate Bill 1779 being engrossed in advance to the third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 7 through 25, Senate Bill 1090 through Senate Bill 1779, be engrossed in advance to the third reading in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1090, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 1104, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1122, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1160, reported from the Committee on Finance, and we have a floor amendment.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we waive the reading of the proposed floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the floor amendment. I'd like to speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This is the financial contingency clause. After this was passed out of the Finance Committee, further review indicated that there's potentially some general fund implications, and we need to take a look at that and make sure we're clear on that aspect of it. So I would hope we would adopt the floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted.
Senate Bill 1180, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 1182, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 1216, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the Education and Health substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the Finance Committee amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1219, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the General Laws substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1233, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 1253, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Mr. President, I hate asking this, but can that come out of the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1253 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1257, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with an amendment, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Rehab and Social Services amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Finance Committee amendment be agreed to.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1286, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1339, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the committee amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Senate Bill 1346, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1384, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1450, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1492, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1505, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
I move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Are we engrossing and advancing?
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
Aye.
Senate Bill 1509, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1513, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. Senate Bill 1515, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments and reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1565, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1580, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can Senate Bill 1580 go by for the day?
Senator, want to take it out of the block?
Yes.
Out of the block and by for the day? Without objection, Senate Bill 1580 will be removed from the block and go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1600, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. Senate Bill 1608, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with an amendment, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendment from Education and Health.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the amendment from Committee on Finance as well.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1652, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment, and we also have a floor amendment.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we waive the reading of the proposed floor amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the floor amendment be adopted, and I'd like to speak to that.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This bill deals with an existing tax credit for the ports. The bill would make the credit transferable. This amendment is technical in nature because the bill provides for a look-back period whereby the credit could be transferred to a previous tax year. This technical amendment would say that you can't go but so far with that beyond the statute of limitations, and so I would move its adoption.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted.
Senate Bill 1656, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1658, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move that we agree to the committee amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1661, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I am not that thrilled about the amendment coming out of the Committee of Finance, but I guess I will move that it be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Senate Bill 1679, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1705, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 1742, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1751, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the recommendation the amendment be rejected, I move the committee amendment.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that they be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee amendments are rejected. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I waive the reading of the substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. President, the substitute removes a section involving the community interest, common interest community managers that was erroneously included and should have been removed in committee. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1754, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1755, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1756, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 1769, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1779, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? That is all bills except for Senate Bills 1253 and 1580. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar. Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1015, a bill relating to education improvement scholarships, pre-kindergarten eligibility, payout penalty. Reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move the committee amendments.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. President, I now move that we engross in advance to its next reading.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1072, a bill relating to the definition of training center, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Michael and Mr. President, yes, I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its next constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1095, a bill relating to a system for early childhood care and education, establishment licensure, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that that bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1095 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1129, a bill relating to eligibility for food stamps, drug-related felonies, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
And Mr. President, I move that the amendment from Finance be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I now move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1145, a bill relating to Virginia Initiative for Employment, Not Welfare, Transitional Child Care, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1184, a bill relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, applicability, sexual assault response teams, and multidisciplinary child sexual assault response teams, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1221, a bill relating to telemedicine services, coverage, and practice, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move the substitute.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
I also move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third constitutional reading.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 1329, a bill relating to major information technology project procurement, terms and conditions, limitation of liability provisions, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1365, a bill relating to education improvement scholarship tax credits, benefits and eligibility requirements, eligible student with a disability, reported from the Committee on Finance.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, may we engross and advance this wonderful bill to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 1372, a bill relating to conformity of the Commonwealth's taxation system with the Internal Revenue Code, emergency, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute, and we have a floor substitute.
Mr.
From
President,
Jameson
I would
County.
ask to pass it by temporarily. I know that there is a floor substitute that wants to be offered by a loquacious senator from Fairfax.
Thank the Senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 1372 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 1413, a bill relating to oyster planting grounds, lease assignments, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1494, a bill relating to Firefighters and Emergency Medical Technicians Procedural Guarantee Act, breach of procedures, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, with a recommendation that we reject the committee amendments, I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that they be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The committee amendments are rejected. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the body agree to the floor substitute. By way of explanation, this is purely technical.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that we engross and advance the bill to its third and final reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third and final reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third and final reading.
Senate Bill 1523, a bill relating to Governor Secretary's Secretary of Workforce Development created, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Does the senator first want to move the committee amendment?
Mr. President, I move that the committee, as Finance Committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1554, a bill relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, civil penalties, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1592, a bill directing the Director of the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity to amend certain regulations related to micro businesses, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
And, Mr. President, now I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1605, a bill relating to stakeholder processes for the development of energy efficiency programs, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
I now move that SB 1605 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1625, a bill relating to the statewide fire prevention code, definition of permissible fireworks, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1662, a bill relating to electric utilities, energy efficiency programs, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Yes, Mr. President, I move the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, I move the Senate Bill 1662 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1737, a bill to provide civil relief for citizens of the Commonwealth who are employees or contractors of the United States government who have been furloughed or otherwise not receiving wages or payments as a result of the partial closure of federal government. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1752, a bill relating to the Virginia Lottery, ticket discounting, civil penalties, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendment to be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1774, a bill relating to the Board for Contractors, requirements for licensure, certification of automatic fire sprinkler inspectors. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology, and we have floor amendments.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments is waived. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the floor amendments be agreed to by way of explanation. These are purely technical.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendments are adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I now move that we engross and advance the bill to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank you. Returning to page 30, Senate Bill 1372, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that the committee substitute be agreed to, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw?
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the Senate,
it's not pleasant to have to get up and go against the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, but this is involving some pretty extensive, tax policy. And quite frankly, and I've got the floor substitute I have is a pure conformity bill, which is what we've normally done. And the bill offered by the Senate Majority Leader, I think, takes about almost a billion or 900 million out of the coffers after we do this tax relief. This is a policy that should be discussed by all 40 of us and essentially not just one caucus. I'll tell you this, the last time we kind of acted this hastily on what kind of tax relief we were going to give to the voters was in the session in 1998. And it was called the car tax. And that takes, as you all know, $950 million off the top of the budget every year. And if Brandon Bell, former senator from Roanoke in 2004, hadn't capped it, it would have been over $2 billion last year. And to give you an idea, when you act a little hastily, sometimes things probably don't come out to benefit your area. They benefited our area. And this car tax relief of the $950 million, 43% of the refund, of the rebates, goes to Planning District 8. Of the 43%, half of it goes to Fairfax County. Now, everybody knows that we desperately needed car tax relief. But, a car, and to give you an example, it was based primarily on what your personal property tax was on, I think it was July 1st, 1997. Well, Fairfax County was $4.58 per hundred, and I think at the time Pennsylvania County was under $1. And we capped it at $20,000 for personal vehicles. So if you had a car, or even if you have one today, that's valued at more than $20,000, the first $916, if you live in Fairfax County, is paid for by the state. That same car, if you own it in Pennsylvania County, brings less than $200 to that county. And that's what happens when you act a little hastily. And what the substitute does is it's a straight conformity bill. No tax give-backs to anyone. There's $1.2 billion into our Treasury. And if you want to do tax relief, we know exactly pretty much what we got, and we can discuss it as a group. So I would hope that we wouldn't act in haste and do something like this. We can still straighten this out. We can still get a consensus, but it's going to have to be something where we all work together. And that's why I ask that you reject the substitute from the Senate, and then we could get on to discussing the bill, the substitute that I've offered up. That's it.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from James City County, Senator Norment, rise?
Mr. President, I would respectfully ask if the gentleman, the senior senator from Fairfax, would yield for a question or two.
Will the senator rise for a question?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, my first question is that on page 2 of the floor substitute, from lines 36 through lines 54 have been stricken out. Have they been stricken out just because those are obsolete provisions?
That's exactly right, sir. Okay. I would say to the senator, he's exactly right.
Okay.
These are obsolete provisions in the code.
Thanks, Senator. Further question?
Mr. President, a second question, if he would be so kind. I noted on line 18 that there was an insertion of the date of December the 31st of 2018, and I also noted at the very end of the bill on page 3 on line 58 there is an emergency clause that is affixed to it. Is the purpose of that date and the emergency clause to see that the taxpayers for 2018 would receive a benefit when they file their returns?
Senator's floor.
That would be correct.
Okay. And Mr. President, my last question. In the absence of the emergency clause, the Virginia taxpayers would not receive a benefit on their 2018 tax return. Is that correct, sir?
Senator's the floor.
That's correct in both the committee substitute and the floor substitute, which is why we all need to discuss this.
Thank you, Senator. Further question?
Mr. President, speaking to the motion.
Senator's the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I would encourage you to adopt the committee substitute that is before you at this moment and not address the floor substitute. I would say, Mr. President, that there is a remarkable philosophical and financial difference between the approach that is embodied in the committee substitute when contrasted and compared with the floor substitute. And I would suggest to you, Mr. President, that as we consider the floor substitute, that there is an opportunity for 40 senators to have a discussion to determine what a majority of the senators feel ought to be the financial and philosophical approach on conformity. I would further suggest to you, Mr. President, that I do not believe that this should be characterized as a hasty decision, and the senior senator from Fairfax knows my attitude about the car tax and the author of that car tax. But having said that, this is not the first time really that there has been a debate in the Commonwealth of Virginia about whether or not we ought to spend significant revenues or we should return significant revenues to the Virginia citizens who are taxpayers. Actually, in 1986, there was a very similar discussion and debate that took place, and a number of the leading newspapers across the Commonwealth of Virginia ran some editorials, and the caption of the local editorial was, "Give it back." I suggest to you, Mr. President, that there are a number of other senators who are anxious to participate in this discussion, so I will not walk through each and every provision that is contained in it so that other senators may address it. But what I would say, Mr. President, there is a remarkable contrast in the approaches. Under the floor substitute, it recaptures about $1.2 billion in revenues. And we know clearly, based upon the governor's preemptive announcement on his approach to the budget, that he would like to spend about $2.1 billion in revenues. Those two positions, when contrasted with where the committee substitute is remarkable. Because, Mr. President, what the committee substitute is saying, rather than grow government, rather than spend $2.1 billion, that we want to provide tax relief across the Commonwealth of Virginia for citizens, whether they are low-income individuals or whether they are high-income individuals. And the committee substitute captures that exact philosophy. So what I would suggest to you, Mr. President, I'll let others run through the specifics of it, but if we are coming up on the Super Bowl on Sunday night, as I am told, and one of the things that I am mindful of is that on a football field, there is a goalpost. And the object is to kick that football on a field goal or an extra point through that goalpost. We have a goalpost that has been established in the Senate of Virginia. On the left side of that goalpost, very appropriately, is those who want to spend all of the unanticipated revenues or the revenues that have come through the federal tax changes or through growth. And I would say that goalpost is being substantiated in concrete in an inflexible way under the floor substitute. Over on the right goalpost is a much more conservative but compassionate approach that the Senate Finance Committee substitutes offers, and that is that we are going to return revenues to the citizens of Virginia who pay taxes and provide tax relief and not grow government.
I have so many football puns, and I'm not going to use any of them right now. For what purpose does the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell, rise?
Speaking to the committee substitute, I guess, right?
The substitute, correct.
The substitute,
Senator
right.
has the floor.
The substitute. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Christmas, I ordered everybody in my family a 23andMe kit because I was curious. And I sent mine in first, and I got it back. And I discovered that according to 23andMe, that I have more Neanderthal genes than 88% of their customers. So I may only be an unfrozen caveman lawyer, like the senator from Fairfax, and be pretty thick and able to figure this out. But I think we're talking about apples and oranges here. My high school government teacher told me to get a 5 on my high school government AP exam. If I wanted to write a good essay, simplicity is elegance. He said, keep it simple. And our governor said the same thing. He said, do conformity first, do policy later. I think I heard somebody on the other end of the hallway say the same thing, that they want to do conformity first and policy later. And last time I checked in football, you don't get to kick it through the uprights until you get the touchdown first. There's a two-step process. And it seems to me we're trying to kick our extra point before we score the touchdown. So, okay, you guys are only going for a field goal. I got it. So, what I've heard from folks is their biggest priority right now, this very second, is to file a tax return. They want to see their they want to get their refund. They would like to be able to file a tax return. They would like to know how much they have to pay to plan their budget. They would like to know what their accountants want to know exactly what numbers to put in what blank and where the lines are going to be. And right now, they're looking at a 40-page tax return instead of the typical one-page tax return because nobody knows whether we're going to conform or deconform. This is a two-step dance. We don't put them together. And so that's what we hear from our constituents. And you all are trying to take the apple and the orange and squish them together and make them into one thing. And we can't do that. We do conformity first, then we can talk about policy later. That way the world can move on, people can file their tax returns, and then get their refunds. Businesses can plan their day, plan their year, and we'll figure out the policy later, just like we do every year. That's what we need to do this year. We're not going to get dragged into some floor debate about policy. That's not the discussion for today. The discussion for today should be about conformity. So we should vote against this.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I was interested in the football analogy given by my friend over there from James City County. Looking around on the right side of that goalpost, I see some people who want us to spend a couple $1 billion rebuilding their schools. I see some other people on the right side of that goalpost that think that tuition's too high in our college campuses and want the students to be able to cast 2/3 vote before their tuition can go up. Well, there's a reason that we don't have the $2 billion to rebuild Senator Stanley's schools. And there's a reason that you're seeing these bills to cap tuition. Guess what? You can't run the universities for free. Surprise. You can't run them for free. And sooner or later, we're going to have to give these people some money. So before you talk about the people on the left giving the store away, if you're going to do that, don't come and complain to me that the colleges, because they don't have any money, have got to raise tuition. Or we don't have enough money to build rebuild all the schools for one or two of the senators. So it appears that it's not a one-sided thing. It appears that, and keep in mind, I'll plead guilty to occasionally being a hypocrite. But let me tell you, I'm not the only one in this room.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, rise?
Mr. President, speaking to the committee amendment.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I appreciate the fact that we are going to need to talk about the floor amendment as we go along, and I appreciate the fact that the senior senator is putting it forward and that he is concerned about timing. I'll tell you all that timing does matter, so no one on any side should say timing doesn't matter. We need to get this bill through. We need to do it quickly. We need to get it to the House. It needs to go to the governor. The reason is because not only what the senator from Fairfax said, but there's about $200 million at stake. If we don't do it quickly, without conformity, we simply can't give back the checks or do the other items that most of us are interested in. Mr. President, there's a couple of things that I think are important here. One is the tax returns and the tax relief that was given from the federal government. There are a lot of people in this room, I suspect, that maybe did not support that, but there seems to be a lot of people that want to keep the fruits of that, and they want to keep it here in government. Mr. President, there are a couple of fundamental things that are at stake here. One, there's a belief within the committee substitute that we should return the refunds back to the taxpayers who gave it to us. Secondly, it is that government needs to learn to live within its means. This was truly found money. If you go back to the Senate finance reports, none of this was anticipated before the tax cuts. Mr. President, even without this, with the $976 million, there was $548 million that was available to us, another $577 that was available to us from the changes in the balances, and so there was over $1 billion that government could live with. Unfortunately, we ended up with about $463 million in misestimates on Medicaid. This is not expansion, but regular Medicaid. But the question is, in a year where over $1 billion available for us, how much is finally enough? How much can government live with? Or do they need to also take the refund that was supposed to go back to the people and spend that too? Mr. President, I'm going to tell you that this, I think, is the last chance. There are some people that say, let's pass conformity now and tax reform later. Mr. President, if we do that, I will fairly assure you that you will not get tax money going back to the people of Virginia. It's been very clear from certain areas of this chamber, from the third floor, that they are not very much in favor of a plan like this. There may be some small tax returns that were going to go back to some non-taxpayers, but I will tell you, if you're interested in taking back $1 billion back to the working people of Virginia, the only way to do that is to combine conformity with a tax policy. Mr. President, I would also point out that if we were to overlook the committee substitute and go only with the floor amendment, we would miss the opportunity to provide back to the working people of Virginia in this October over $420 million that would go back to them through a refund. The next is that we would miss the opportunity to raise the standard deduction the first time in many, many, many years to $4,500 for individuals and $9,000 for families. That's $360 million. Mr. President, also there is money, about $56 million, for everyone who owns some type of property and is going to pay in a property tax, and they're not going to get a deduction unless you vote for this version of the substitute. Mr. President, I know that there are many things within the budget that we would like to do, and the senior senator from Fairfax talks about the ability for us to reduce college tuition and other items. And talking to my seatmates, very clear, one way to help people pay for their college tuitions is to give them their own money back. Not run it through government, but instead give them their own money back and allow them the opportunity to pay that. Mr. President, I do believe that the committee substitute you have before you is literally the only pathway to have true substantial tax relief going back to the people of Virginia. If you go forward with a floor substitute, you will miss that opportunity. We will get conformity, but we will not get substantial return back to the people. Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the matter.
Senator has the floor.
The one thing I would take exception to is I don't believe this is growing government. It's funding government. We've fallen behind in a number of areas in terms of education. Our waiting lists, I know they're hopefully going to be addressed this year, but our waiting lists for the disabled continues to be a problem. This isn't growing government. It's living up to our obligations and funding government. And I know there'll be compromise, and I know there'll be money going back to Virginians, but there are also essential funding that we need to do, and we need to provide clarity to the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I think that we need to first deal with conformity, and then let's get a good tax relief package for citizens, but also fund some of the essentials of government that are just so important to all of us. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak in favor of the floor amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Very briefly, I would like to disagree with some of the comments that were made by people on the other side. The senator for Bedford seems to claim to know what our position is, but that's impossible because we've never been asked what we would be willing to put in the budget. Furthermore, he claimed that there was no intention to return any money to the people of Virginia. He fails to remember that the governor put a refundable earned income tax credit in his bill. I believe there's a whole lot of things that we could negotiate, and possibly quite quickly, but we can't do it if it's imposed by the other side on a bill that includes not only some conformity, but tax policy. It simply can't happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak in support of the committee substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. We have, of course, been in session now for some time. It's a short session, and ordinarily in this short session, we confine ourselves to very limited applications of tax reform and things of that nature. We have in place, Mr. President, a budget that was fiscally responsible when we adopted it last year, a budget that provides in the second year already a 4% salary increase for state employees, a 3% salary increase for teachers and local supported employees, significant increases in mental health delivery system, behavioral health, as we all had that goal. And I'm not suggesting that there's not unmet need. There is unmet need. Now we have an opportunity here to address some of that unmet need, and I understand some of the concerns that might be voiced from some of my colleagues on this side of the aisle. But I also recognize that with what is going on at the federal level, there is a tremendous amount of uncertainty. We have to base our budget on solid ground. And Mr. President, I would say, as the football analogies have gone forward, I would only say that my teams are out. I'm only going to watch the commercials Sunday night. But we do need to set the parameters, and if you want to equate that to goalposts, that's what we've got to do. It was of vital importance that we come to a manner where we could simply say, this is how much resource we have available to us in a prudent fashion, and then move forward with the budgeting process. That process has been moving forward, but there's a lot left to be done between now and Sunday evening. And we hope that we will stick to that goal, that we will deliver a budget for Virginians, because they're accustomed to that. And I think more importantly, for the people that we represent. They don't want us to emulate Congress. They don't want to see us vacillate because of our political persuasions and not be able to deliver. So one way or another, we need to come to some form of agreement on what we're going to do for our constituents and do it in a timely manner. To the fundamental issue of what we have done, as I stated yesterday as we were debating this within the bosom of the committee, I feel that particularly with simplicity, we're much more in line here in the Senate with our proposal that came out of committee with the administration than we are with the House, because we first and foremost, whether you agree with setting aside roughly $900 million for tax relief to the people who are because of federal changes, overpaying to that tune and more, that we are basically working in a simple manner that will not complicate the tax filing season. The major changes we are putting off into the 2020 season. This year we are saying, other than some addressing in a small way some of the permanent federal changes as they apply to the corporations, to business owners, we're saying you file your return just as you normally would, and we are going to make an adjustment by providing a refund. That's simple. But the underlying threshold issue for me, Mr. President, is the base budget. The base budget was already growing a fair percentage amount as we established it for fiscal year 19 and 20. With the amount of money that we are still allowing from carry forwards and from growth, which is projected at roughly 3.5, 3.7%, we are still growing our budget. We're still growing our budget by over $1 billion, which we will allocate those resources across the critical areas that we need to fund these years. These are adjustments that we're making midstream because those resources are available to us. What we're not doing is rebasing our budget to a higher level based on temporary federal tax changes. So, Mr. President, I think the budget that we have an opportunity to develop with the resources that we've left on the table for allocation are appropriate, they're reasonable. Obviously, there will always be unmet need, and we'll come back again next year. Some of us will come back next year and continue to address those needs. But for now, I think it would be not prudent for us to allow our base budget to grow as significantly as the introduced budget proposed. And with this substitute that was advanced out of the committee, I think we are acting in a very responsible way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Alexandria? Senator Eben rise.
To speak to the committee substitute.
Senator has the floor.
I want to first off agree with the Senator from Augusta in that we do need an agreement. And I also want to note there was just a federal government shutdown, and we could be well experiencing another later on. But people in Virginia, across Virginia, didn't like the federal shutdown. They expect government to work for them, especially at the very basic levels. People deserve and want to file tax returns. They deserve and want their tax refunds. We need to conform now so they can file their returns now, get their refunds now, and let the taxpayers have their government work for them. And I would just suggest that the majority, or a majority on the Finance Committee, are holding people's tax returns hostage. Let's get this done and talk about the budget in full further, but let's get people their tax returns.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Hampton? Senator Locke rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to speak to the
Committee substitute.
Committee substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I've heard quite a bit about the necessity for expediency. That is not in dispute. The necessity for expediency was here 3 weeks ago. It was here when we convened into session. But we certainly need to separate conformity from policy. Those two should not be embedded in the same conversation. And we've had some analogies to the Hamilton musical here in several floor speeches. I would like to add one more. And what we have with the committee substitute, I would like to say, is the Reynolds pamphlet. And with this Reynolds pamphlet, what we have is an effort to protect individuals. This is to protect themselves. But I'd also like to say that our concerns on this side have not been met because they haven't been heard. We have not been asked what our concerns are or what it is that we would like to see. And I would like to also mention that as a result of the Reynolds pamphlet, we have to be mindful of what Eliza Hamilton's response was. Let it burn.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak very briefly.
Senator has the floor.
I had a couple of things that I wanted to say very briefly. I just cannot believe what I just heard. Let it burn, let it burn. This is our state's budget that we're talking about. This is our responsibility to the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you know what? The cries of, we haven't been asked, we haven't been asked. That's the kind of prideful, hurt feelings that led to the shutdown of the government in Washington. And it's not the kind of approach that we have with each other. And it's not the kind of approach that the people of Virginia expect. They expect us to solve their problems and not to complain about their hurt feelings. You know, what we're trying to do is pass a budget, and we're trying to do it responsibly. What I was going to say is I hear the argument that, look, conform now, and we'll get back to tax relief for the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Virginia later. You know, it reminds me of this little wooden, round, coin-like thing that I had when I was a kid, and it said up at the top, round, and at the bottom it said, to it. So we are being told, you know, pass conformity now, which, by the way, is a $1 billion tax increase on the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is my little wood round to it that indicates that, you know, at some point in the future, we might get around to it in terms of providing tax relief to the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Senator, for what purpose, Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds,
Mr. President, would the gentleman from the senior senator from Fairfax yield for a question?
Would the senior senator from Fairfax yield for a question?
Yes.
Mr. President, I'd ask the gentleman, he's been here longer than anybody else in this body. And as a tax conformity bill is passed near the beginning of every session, does the gentleman recall any previous session where a tax conformity bill has been coupled with tax policy?
Senator's the floor.
Let me just say this: Ed Willie must be turned over in his grave. The answer is no, but it's even worse than I imagined, because according to the gentleman from Shenandoah, the budget's in here too. I wasn't aware of that.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Do any senators other than the patron wish to be heard on the committee substitute? Seeing none, Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of adopting the committee substitute and engrossing and enrolling it, but a couple of things I would like to say without extending the discussion. First of all, Mr. President, I would say that sometimes I have a proclivity to engage in strident and provocative language, and have tried to exercise some modest degree of self-restraint today, because I don't think that it contributes anything to the substantive discussion of the bill. But going back to the football analogy, I would have to say with some degree of amusement that if I had to characterize the proposed floor substitute, that in the game of football it would be characterized as a fumble. And I would say it for a couple of reasons. There has been a suggestion that those of us who are advocating the committee substitute really don't know what others would do if the floor substitute was adopted. I would have to dispute that suggestion, Mr. President, and I would dispute it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it has already been telegraphed that the governor wants to spend $2.1 billion in revenues coming both from the federal tax changes and from growth. We know that he wants to spend that, and it is reasonable to anticipate that those who support him would want to spend that. I was particularly taken by the discussion about the earned income tax credit, which I consider an unconscionable redistribution of taxpayers' wealth. What the governor had proposed was to write checks to those who are not paying taxes or paying a minimal amount in the amount of $250 million, to write checks to those individuals between the difference of the tax credit that they used and that which they did not. And I suggest to you, Mr. President, that those 2 points alone are a clarion call of what the intention of those who would support the floor amendment would say. I further take umbrage at the suggestion that anybody on this side is holding tax returns or tax refunds or tax rebates hostage. In fact, if you looked and spent the time to study the proposal in the Senate Finance Committee substitute, which I know many of you have, you will see that it provides tax relief for everyone in 4 different tax categories, ranging from those who make $50,000 or less, or those who make $100,000 or more. It is tax relief across the boards, and no one is holding anything hostage. Taxpayers are going to be able to file their tax returns. If they're entitled to a refund at that point, fine. But when later on in the fall, they're going to get another tax refund. And I suggest to you that there is nothing being held hostage, and that the approach of the Senate Finance Committee is far preferable to what has been shared. And as far for the absolute ridiculous argument that there has not been any participation by the entire Senate, I think I've heard a fairly spirited and well-defined and well-articulated debate today, which clearly has set up what the goalposts are. So, Mr. President, with due respect to the discussions that have been made from my colleagues on the other side, I would respectfully ask that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Seeing at least 8 hands, we'll have a recorded vote. All those in favor of adopting the committee substitute will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The committee substitute is adopted. Because the committee substitute was adopted, the floor substitute regarding Senate Bill 1372 is now ruled out of order. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now ask that Senate Bill 1372 be engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading, sir.
Are you locked up?
Question is, shall Senate Bill 1372 be engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading.
On page 36, uncontested calendar, Senate bills on 1st reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I respectfully move that all the Senate bills on the first reading of both uncontested and regular calendar, including all Senate bills on pages 36 through 54, including Senate Bill 1026 through Senate Bill 1703, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with. And that was to make up for the time talking to Senator Sasslaw.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 36 through 54, Senate Bill 1026 and Senate Bill 1703 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, please, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
On page 55, regular calendars, Senate Joint Resolution on third reading. Senate Joint Resolution 306, proposing an amendment to Section 6 of Article 2 of the Constitution of Virginia and proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Virginia by adding in Article 2 a section numbered 6-A relating to apportionment, Virginia Redistricting Commission.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, moving that the resolution be passed and speaking to the resolution.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this resolution is creating a Virginia Redistricting Commission under a constitutional amendment. I think people are by and large pretty familiar with the proposal, but just to hit the highlights on this. This is a proposal that would create a 16-member commission to draw districts for both the U.S. Congress as well as for the General Assembly seats in the State Senate and the House of Delegates. There is broad participation and many checks and balances that built into the measure there. It would create a commission of 16 members, 8 of whom would be citizen members and 8 of whom would be legislators. The 8 who are citizen members would be 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 4 independents. The 8 legislators would be 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats. Moreover, you will have to have 6 of the 8 votes of the citizen members and 6 of the 8 votes of the legislators to move forward with any plan for any of the 3 districts that would be created here. The provisions would ensure that basically there is no party to the proceedings on the commission that would be able to dictate to others and no party that would be able to be dictated to. Republicans could not dictate to Democrats. Democrats could not dictate to Republicans. The citizen members could not dictate to the legislators, and the legislators could not dictate to the citizen members. All interests are protected in this, and I think would help us come up with a consensus maps that are good for the Commonwealth of Virginia, good for the citizens who would be electing us in the future. It does provide, in addition, for there to be the final action is not taken by the commission. It has to come to the General Assembly once the commission has developed the maps, and the General Assembly, both the House and the Senate, would take straight up or down votes without being able to make amendments to it, so that we would not be able to judge to amend what was developed by the commission, but would have the ability to say no if it was found to be unacceptable, and then we'll go on to the governor. I think it's designed. We've added transparency language with an amendment that was adopted yesterday to ensure that there are public hearings, public input into the process, and records that will provide perspectives that will, in effect, enable people to be able to understand what was going on and why. With that, I will renew my motion to pass this resolution and move this forward. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Joint Resolution 306? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 306 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Joint Resolution 306 is agreed to.
Memorial resolutions.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move that all the memorial resolutions on pages 55 through 58 of the calendar, which would include House Joint Resolution 586 through Senate Resolution 100, be placed on their passage in the block, waiving the reading of the resolution to be passed in the usual manner. Any senator who desires to have a memorial resolution removed from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the title of that resolution.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on pages 55 through 58, House Joint Resolution 586 through Senate Resolution 100, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. Clerk will read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
House Joint Resolution 586, celebrating the life of William E. Ward. House Joint Resolution 611, celebrating the life of Joseph Benjamin Fuller. House Joint Resolution 619, celebrating the life of Master Sergeant Edward Colston Newton V, United States Army. House Joint Resolution 631, celebrating the life of Richard Lee Towell, Sr.
Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Could H.A.R. 631 come out of the block and go by for the day so Madam Clerk can be present?
Without objection, House Joint Resolution 631 will be removed from the block and go by for the day.
House Joint Resolution 632, celebrating the life of Grosjean Graves Crump, Jr. House Joint Resolution 633, celebrating the life of George Edward Robertson Stiles. House Joint Resolution 638, celebrating the life of Joan Albert Lawler. House Joint Resolution 667, celebrating the life of Stacy Visser Dendy. House Joint Resolution 691, celebrating the life of the Honorable John Maston Davis. House Joint Resolution 695, celebrating the life of Betty Woodson Weaver. House Joint Resolution 707, celebrating the life of Inez Faye Snodgrass. House Joint Resolution 710, celebrating the life of Charles Crum, Jr. House Joint Resolution 711, celebrating the life of Charles William Davis, Jr. House Joint Resolution 712, celebrating the life of the Honorable Frederick McDonald Quayle.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that HJR 712 come out of the block and by for the day.
Without objection, House Joint Resolution 712 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Joint Resolution 721, celebrating the life of William Clinton Walker. Senate Joint Resolution 290, celebrating the life of Josiah Pollard Rowe III. Senate Joint Resolution 324, celebrating the life of Lieutenant Bradford Turner Clark. Senate Joint Resolution 328, celebrating the life of Evelyn Bell Ware. Senate Resolution 85, celebrating the life of Brenda Lee Hanson Ike. Senate Resolution 100, celebrating the life of Bradford Turner Clark.
The resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolutions will please rise. The resolutions are agreed to.
Commending resolutions.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move all the commending resolutions on pages 58 and 59, including House Joint Resolution 587 through Senate Resolution 1001, be placed on their final passage in a block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolution. Any senator who desires to remove a commending resolution from the block would please do so after the clerk has read the number of that resolution.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the commending resolutions on pages 58 through 59, House Joint Resolution 587 through Senate Resolution 101, be considered in the block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. Clerk will read the numbers of the resolutions.
House Joint Resolutions 587, 600, 612, 634, 635, 637, 700, 708, 709, 725. Senate Joint Resolutions 322, 323, 325, 326, 327, Senate Resolution 101.
Question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions are agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules be suspended and SJR 341 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and Senate Joint Resolution 341 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
Senate Joint Resolution 341, commending the Honorable Robert W. Goodlatte.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the resolution be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move that the rules be suspended and HJR 743 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and House Joint Resolution 743 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
House Joint Resolution 743, commending the Honorable Robert W. Goodlatte.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the resolution be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Inquire the clerk. Does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For what purpose does the Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline, rise? You know, was it? Okay. What purpose, Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise?
Return to the morning hour briefly.
Without objection.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are joined in the gallery by Madison Cummings from Albemarle County, a former member of the school board and an active member of the community. I would ask you, Mr. President, to give him the warm greetings of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Would Madison Cummings please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you, Madison. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate your presence and all your service and echo the kind and generous words of Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds. You're welcome back here anytime. I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Madison Cummings. What purpose is Senator from James City County? Senator Norman Rise.
A very brief announcement, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Immediately upon adjournment, if the Senate Republican Leadership Group would meet very briefly downstairs.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Spotsylvania? Senator Reeves rise.
Just a real quick announcement, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Tonight is the Military Appreciation Night over at the War Memorial. Starts at 7. So if you're hungry, please bring an appetite. We'd love to see you to kind of say thank you to all those that serve in the Commonwealth wearing the cloth of our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Thursday, January 31st, 2019, the Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will not meet. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will not meet. Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will not meet. Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will not meet. The Committee on Finance will meet 1/2 hour.
Mr. President.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. An update on that. I'd like to ask for the Finance Committee to meet 10 minutes after we adjourn.
Thank the Senator.
The Committee on Finance will meet 10 minutes after adjournment in Committee Room B in the Pocahontas Building. That's 10 minutes after adjournment. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Public Education will not meet. The Finance Subcommittee on Education will meet at 3 o'clock. Who was that, Norman? Will not meet today. Finance Subcommittee on Education will not meet today. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus will meet at 5 o'clock p.m. in Subcommittee Room 300B,
Mr. President.
the Pocahontas Building.
Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Legislative Black Caucus meeting will be at 5 p.m. for a briefing on tax conformity.
Thank the Senator.
Tomorrow, February 1st, 2019, the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services will meet at 8 o'clock a.m. in Senate Room A in the Pocahontas Building. The Committee on Rules will meet at 9 o'clock a.m. in Senate Room 3 in the Capitol. The Republican Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 2 in the Capitol. The Democratic Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 1 in the Capitol.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.